Can you hear us now? I bet you can. No microphones this week. Anyway, back to simplifying our business. I bet you can. No microphones this week. Live TV.
It works, right?
Okay, so what basically just happened is all the things that you said are basically useless. Hey, what's up, Chris?
How's it
Come on
going?
in, man.
Have a seat, buddy.
So
We actually just did a whole thing,
Nobody
recorded
could
this
hear
whole
us.
thing, and nobody could hear us. I guess I should have checked the microphone before we started. This is Chris with Energy Insurance. He's going to answer some questions. So what I guess we'll just start over, and then I'm going to have to edit this video.
We can do that. It's all right. People can watch it. I mean, it was good stuff. They can just look at us and
I got
those guys are sexy.
Yeah, it was just like total facial expressions. It's a complete waste of time. But so because today's Valentine's Day, we're talking about keeping it simple, stupid, kiss, and we're talking about the ways that we simplify our business. Geoff was just mentioning about simplifying who to go after when it comes to the business that you want to go after, whether it's Zillow leads or Realtor.com leads or your sphere of influence, and about focusing those things. And what I was mentioning to Geoff is that I have a great spreadsheet that breaks down your client profile, and it's like client's name, where that lead came from, what do they do for a living? Are they married? Are they divorced? Do they have kids? Are they single with kids? Are they blended families? I think, like I mentioned, where they work, their income, the zip code that they bought in, and then what ends up happening is that you find trends in those people. So we had an agent in our office, for some reason, she killed it with nurses and firemen, and I don't know why, but she's like,
that's where she focused her energy
you need to go,
and
So instead of you dropping $2,000 a month on Zillow, go drop $200 a month on firemen and nurses that to go generate your business. Sure. So, and a lot of things that obviously automated emails. That's what I like to use. The automatic drip campaigns. Another one that I love to do is, it's a great reason to call people and put them on a drip campaign. Somebody you sold them a house, that you say, hey, I just want you to, if you want to keep up to date on what's going on in your neighborhood, I'll put you on a drip of everything that hits the market that went pending and sold, so
Sure.
where your market is in your house. So in the insurance game, what do you guys do to try to simplify business?
The biggest thing I'm looking for is we want to work with people who are interested in understanding what's going on with their policy. We don't want somebody to find out that there's a problem after the fact. The biggest segment of my business currently is higher net worth clients. I write a lot of the owners of businesses that we insure at Energy.
Yeah.
Our bread and butter is commercial insurance, but I do an enormous amount of high net worth personal insurance. And so I don't necessarily think there's any particular segment from, is it a single person with one car renters, or is it a household that has a home and two cars, or is it the high net worth guy that's got houses in multiple places? As much as it is, we just want it to be a consultative process where we spend time with them. They're interested in understanding what it is they're purchasing, and that's where the referrals come in hand, where, hey, we're not getting just referred a bunch of firemen, we're getting referred people who are interested in understanding what it is they're buying.
Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest thing for us, is we just want it to be a consultative process, because we're going to service people in-house. We're going to be there. We're not going to give you a 1-800 number. So we're trying to build a client base forever, and not, hey, I'll sell you this and now you can call this 1-800 number.
Yeah, and I think that's probably, being in and working with people every day, you always, that's one of the first questions, like, who do you have your homeowner's insurance with? They really don't even know what their policy is. Most of your consumers, they directly just want to go out. They want to go out and find the cheapest policy they can get.
Right.
And they don't even know if it's going to cover their contents, replacement cost, or anything. I think that's one of the good things, I've worked with you over the years that you do, is you actually look down or sit down and you compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges and lay it out and let the person know what they're getting.
You never just want to get a price, you want to get a price with an explanation. Everybody wants a good price, but if you've got a price and the contract doesn't cover anything, you're wasting your money. And nowadays, because of problems with catastrophe claims, hail, wind, there's a lot of carriers who are cutting back, and you can get a less expensive price for a closing or whatever, but you want to make sure that when the rubber hits the road, if you as an agent refer somebody, that the client is well taken care of when that happens.
Yeah, I think there's nothing simple about insurance.
That's correct.
There's really nothing simple about insurance. I worked in insurance, actually. I sold commercial insurance, I hated that job more than anything. Because with commercial, I feel like you walk into because for some reason I got a lot of garages, and I'd walk in and see a ladder leaning there that I know it's been there for 2 days. I'm like, why? Can you just lay that ladder down? So, it's like, so we don't have to file a claim at some point. It's like, because your ratios have to be correct, and especially when it comes to commercial, because that's just confusing. It's just confusing about this kind of liability. What's that, like employer driving liabilities? And actually, that's actually a good question to ask. Is so as real estate agents, what kind of coverage does somebody need for like a personal assistant that may be running errands for you?
Well, if you have your own agency and you have a business policy, it's important that you have non-owned auto, which basically if someone's acting on your behalf and they go out and they get in an accident, that you're covered from that standpoint. Now, you're all a little bit of a gray area because a lot of time people aren't true W-2 employees.
They're working as a 1099.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, the law can interpret that in different ways, though, because if the person is taking an enormous amount of direction from you, and you're telling them, hey, this is what you do, and when it rubber hits the road, are they technically an employee? The law is generally going to go on their side.
Yeah.
So, of course, you want to have work comp if something happens to them in that capacity and they're injured, but also you want to make sure that everyone has high enough auto liability limits so that if they are in an accident while in the course of business and the business is sued or them as an individual, that they have plenty of protection for that. So cheap state minimum is not the way to go when you're doing anything involving insurance.
Yeah, especially if you got people sitting in your car.
Exactly. And it's usually much more advisable for the agent to drive and then the client to drive separately.
That's kind of what I've done that for years now, just for a lot of reasons. It's for that one, and then a lot of times I'm busy. I'm having to make phone calls and talk to other people in between that, and I don't want to do that with the client in the car with me.
Well, and the way auto insurance works in the state of Kentucky is the first $10,000 of medical bills pays out of your auto policy regardless of fault. So if you have a client in the car and you're driving them somewhere and someone T-bones you, the first $10,000 of their medical bills is going to pay out of your policy.
Yeah.
Well, some carriers put deductibles on that stuff, so it could end up costing you or them money if someone slams in the side of you. So I would always encourage you to have a client drive separately for the safety of both of you and meet you there as opposed to riding in the vehicle.
Had an agent in our office get rear-ended by her
That can happen too.
It was like raining. And
I hope they end up buying a house.
They did.
Oh, that's good.
If they don't know where they're going, I mean, that can happen.
Yeah, I'm sure. I guarantee that's not the first and only time that's ever happened. I've had some close calls. I'm a terrible driver, and I never let people ride with me just because I am a terrible driver. And then we have that logo truck. The reason the windows are blacked out tinted is because I don't want anybody to see me. And there's no phone number on it. I don't have anybody call me either. So, yeah, I think insurance, like I said, it's not simple, and it's one of those confusing things that because you'll get a number as far as premium wise, and then it's really you're not getting the same kind of coverage. And I like to be very well insured. I have umbrella coverage. I have everything on my car. I got everything that I own that I can insure. I do just because I've been in the insurance business and I understand the risk reward of doing it. And sometimes some things aren't probably worth insuring, but I always suggest an umbrella policy for everyone. It's something that
That's one of the things we really encouraged. You need to have the minimum liability limits for an umbrella, but also have an umbrella to go over if something were to happen at your house in a pool, like at your pool, Geoff, or in an auto accident. It gives you extra protection because we live in a litigious society, and you got the attorneys who run the ads. We see them all the time. And there's a reason they're running them. It's because it works.
It does work.
So it's important to have adequate protection to protect your assets. And it's just like anything else. You buy a house, you got to show a house, you get the best house for the money. Insurance works the same way.
The best policy for the money.
And that piece of paper, all it does is say what's covered and what's not. So if the client doesn't go through it or has no interest and they say, I just want the cheapest thing, that's not the client for us at Energy.
Yeah,
we want to make sure they understand.
So as far as insurance, like getting for agents that are representing buyers, how quickly is your guys' turnaround when it comes to knowing what a premium is going to be for somebody? Like, they'll have a contract in place to go through inspections. They're getting ready for closings. What kind of turnaround are you guys looking at?
I give all my clients my cell phone number. So if Geoff or somebody refers somebody or a client needs to talk to somebody and they give my cell phone number, I'll give them a quote the exact same day.
Yeah.
Here's the key, and this is a balance between the real estate agents, the insurance agent, and the mortgage. A lot of times they don't know when the closing date is going to be, so the insurance person can't give you a rate because they don't have a date to put on there. And then if the date changes, some carriers change the price. I represent about 15 different carriers. So all of them have different rules and different discounts based on the timeline of when you're closing. So the key is for the real estate agent and the mortgage lender to realize we want to just use the contract date, tell the client to tell their agent, use the contract date as the quote date. If it doesn't close then and it gets pushed back, that's fine. The price will only be that or better. But a lot of times the client will call in or the mortgage lender will and they say, well, we don't know the date. Well, we understand that, but you got to give me something or I can't give you a quote.
Right.
And that's a frustration that you find between the three. But if you push back the date, it's really not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have some carriers I can press a button and it rewrites the policy immediately with a new date. Some of them I got to cancel and start all over.
Oh, wow.
And then if you're doing it ahead of time, there's a discount loaded in there. Some of them you get that discount back and some of them you can't. So it's a balance, but that's up to having a good agent who understands it to get it right, because if the real estate agent and the mortgage person and the insurance guy are all on the same, or lady, are all on the same page, we want to make sure that premium stays identical so that closing happens and nobody's throwing a wrench into it.
Because you're not closing if that policy's not in place.
Right. The bottom line is we want to make sure the house closes, the person's correctly insured, and they get the mortgage at the rate they were promised.
Yeah.
Yeah, bank wants their money protected.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that falls back to the agent. I mean, that's part of their due diligence and part of their education process with the clients is, you lay all this stuff out and you get with them, and if they're not working with, and I always recommend my clients, especially if they've been with their same insurance people for 3 or 4 or 5 years, you should go ahead and get a quote, because most likely you can probably beat that from somebody with even better coverage a lot of times.
You can, and that's why it's important. If you're with an independent agent or somebody who has multiple carriers, they can, like if somebody calls me and they've been my client for a few years, I'm going to shop that person back out and give them more options.
Am I due for that?
You're due for that.
All
Let's
right.
do it. So I want to give them some more options about pricing and coverages, and it's important to do a review anyways because their situation might have changed. But if you're with somebody who has one carrier, they've got one tool in the bag, there's nothing they can do. The premium is
Right.
what the premium is.
Yeah.
And that's the advantage as an independent agent I have over captive agents.
And you can also do, I mean, not even homeowners insurance, you're licensing businesses and
Yep.
like very strange businesses and all kinds of different things, right?
At Energy, we can do just about anything: auto, home, life, disability, commercial insurance. We're one of the larger commercial agencies in the entire area, so there's truly nothing we can't do, even down to group benefits.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
That's awesome.
I had somebody actually text me today. Do you guys do car lots?
We do. We insure most of the car lots in Lexington.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
The big name ones, a lot of them we already work with.
I'll send you to this guy. He texted me today. And
Excellent.
that's, I think that's what's key actually in being in a real estate business. You have to be the guy or lady that knows the guy or lady
You gotta know
to get the job,
everybody.
to get the job done.
Yeah.
And like, so you get random calls. It's like, do you know an insurance agent for a car lot? Yeah, sure. I'm sure I do. I just need to like hit my database.
I had to refer out a guy that needs some skid steer work because they got some flooding issues in their backyard. So somebody called me.
Oh, skid. Yeah, yeah.
Bobcat.
Yeah.
So skid steer, it's the kind of contractor term there.
Yeah. Excuse my layman's understanding of skid.
So I've got a couple more really important questions for you. This is the 30-second on the hot seat.
All right,
for
lay
Chris
on.
Baird.
This
So,
is a new section of the show.
we're gonna do 30 seconds with all of our guests. It's pretty hard questions. So you got to make sure that you're able to get them right.
This is the hard hitting
Yeah.
stuff.
So I want to know who's probably your favorite rock star realtor.
I'm gonna have to say this, Geoff Brewer.
That is the correct answer. So he was using that. If you could be Bill Gates or Jeff Brewer, who would you be and why?
I'm gonna go with Geoff Brewer because he's a rock star realtor and he's got those. You've seen these jeans they wear in Nashville.
Man.
I mean, he's got a whole closet full of
I
them.
got 3 pair in my closet right now. So what is the square root of Jeff Brewer?
That's a trick question.
Geoff Brewer or Hurricane, who would win?
Is the Hurricane Geoff Brewer?
It could be. Chris Bear with Energy Insurance, guys. So if you want to get a quote from Chris, you can contact us here. We can put you in touch with Chris and get you his contact information. Chris has been my insurance agent for several years, and he does a great job, and I can pick up the phone and call him, and he answers his cell phone. So you guys give Chris a call if you're looking for a quote. Give him a call. So
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming in. And anybody that wants a copy of the client spreadsheet that I was talking about, how to maximize your business, I'd be happy to share that with you. I just finished the book, Crushing It. It was a really good book. So anybody that wants a copy of that book or wants to order that book, I'm going to create a link at the bottom of this. So be sure to click on that. Join us next week. Please share this with your friends and family. And if there's any topics that you want us to cover, we'll be happy to cover this for you. So please, at any time, get a hold of us.
and keep it simple. Focus only on a few things and focus on those, and you'll be a lot more successful to try to spread it all out. So keep it simple and kiss your lady or your man tonight, right? It's Valentine's Day.
It is Valentine's Day. Yeah.
Happy
Thanks,
Valentine's
everybody.
Day.
Bye, everybody. See you guys.